Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story, it comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Training Distance 4448. And it's titled, Am I the Arsehole for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself? And this one does have mentions of racism within the story. It's also one that started around in June, but that has had updates up until this point. So if you've heard other parts of the story in other places, please feel free to use the timestamps. Skip to whichever part you want to hear from, totally up to you. Now let's crack on with it. I go to the gym a lot. About 6-ish months ago, I noticed a woman I'll call Andrea. That's not her name, but it will be for the rest of this post. I don't know if Andrea started going to the gym 6 months ago or if that's just when I noticed her. Full disclosure, I spoke to her first, but had no way of knowing what the result would be. A lot of machines at this gym have little entertainment systems attached to them and can access local channels. I go on the treadmill and realized the TV on the treadmill wasn't working. Andrea was walking past and I said, "Hey, do you know if there's an issue with the cable? This TV isn't working." I don't know if it's just this one or all of them. She said the same thing happened to her on a different machine. I thanked her, that was the whole interaction. A week later, she asked me for some electrolyte powder for her water. I said I didn't have any. She was cool with that and asked me how long I've been coming to the gym and what I did for work. I answered and returned her questions. She said she was new to the area and worked in private security. We had a few more chill conversations after that. 6 weeks ago, she asked me out. For reasons I won't get into here, I wasn't interested. I declined. She said not to worry about things being awkward at the gym if we don't work out. I said that wasn't the issue, just not looking to date right now. She kept talking to me, and at first I kept talking to her, but I started to think something might be wrong, and I started avoiding her. 2 weeks ago, she walked up to me while I was on a machine with only one way to properly dismount, that involving stepping into where she was standing. She asked if I was avoiding her. I said I was and apologized. I said I just don't want to date right now. She said I don't have to avoid her not to date her. I said, okay. I kept avoiding her though. Tonight, while I was working out, she confronted me again about avoiding her. I had a bad day and told her to leave me alone. She asked why I'm being such a prick, and I said because I wanted her to leave me alone. I then said that she was embarrassing herself and needs to stop. She put her foot on top of the weights, and I thought she was going to press down on them, so I let go of the bar very quickly, causing the weights to slam and make a loud noise. Several people looked over. She said, "Now who's embarrassing himself?" and walked away. Did I go too far by saying that? Do I owe her an apology? Now, of course, absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. OP politely declined, then tried avoiding her when she just kept pushing. And it got to the point where she put her foot on the weights, which is genuinely concerning behavior. They basically tried to physically intimidate someone whilst they was doing their workout. Whether she intended to press down or not, positioning herself so he couldn't safely continue his set crossed the line. OP doesn't owe her an apology. If anything, she owes him one for not respecting basic boundaries, and with the persistence of this, what she's doing with the weights, I'd be really considering talking to the gym and letting them know of the situation, even just to, have someone know before she tries to flip the script on you. And I'd be really worried just about her presence around me. The way that she's willing to keep coming up to you and being like she's being here is wild. Trundle Sploot says, the minute her foot went onto those weights, it became really important to report this shit. I'm sorry you stumbled across a gym stalker. So I did a few years ago and it chased me out the gym entirely. Bald for the Win says, a woman that's new to the area, works in private security and has stalker tendencies, report, report, report. Cuban Girl says not the arsehole. No is no. You let this slide for too long. Report it to the gym and don't entertain further interactions. If she attempts to talk to you again, tell her you reported her harassment and you will not engage in further conversation. Put your foot down, OP. This is wrong. Whatever your reason, you don't owe anyone conversation, or reasons why you won't date them, or reasons why you won't speak to them. Not wanting to is a valid reason. Being nice won't help you. And the comments were an overwhelming not the arsehole, obviously, but OP came in with their first update and said, I went in early this morning for a run and told the front desk staff about Andrea putting her foot on the weights. They said they would talk to her. Then after work I went in again for a regular workout. I was working on my legs when she walked up to my machine. The first thing she did was apologize about the weights. I don't know if someone talked to her or if that was of her own initiative. I accepted her apology and apologized for saying she was embarrassing herself. She said she forgave me, but if I wanted to really make it up to her, I could buy her a drink, and she would buy me one too to make up for the weights. I said maybe we should buy our own drinks, meeting separately at different places and times, and she misunderstood me and asked when and where. I told her I meant that I didn't want to go out with her. She said this wouldn't be a date but a reset of our friendship. I said I didn't want to be friends. She said I was being a douche and asked what my problem is. I said the weight incident made me uncomfortable and I would rather us just give each other space. She then asked me if my problem with her is that she's Hispanic. I was so taken aback. I didn't even know she was until she said that. I said no, that she just makes me uncomfortable. She wanted me to explain what about her made me uncomfortable, and I tried to do so, but she argued with every point I made. I got frustrated and told her to just stay away from me. She said fine, and that I have a lot of maturing to do. Then she walked away. I'm hoping that's the end of it. Narrator, it was not. 5 days from that posting, OP comes in with their second update. And it said, Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to talk to me and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice and I continued to ignore her. She reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on top of the screen. I went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did. She kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running and injured me. The woman at the front desk asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said I was staring into the middle distance, like I was in some kind of fugue state, and she thought I was having a medical episode, so she pulled the tab. The woman at the front desk asked for a membership card. Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said if she didn't, she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card and the woman at the front desk said to leave, and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk, and that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word, B-word, so she was banned permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with her racial harassment, but I won't deny getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt good. And 7 days after that post, OP comes in with a third update and says sorry for the incomprehensible post. I posted this last night when I was drunk. I'll rewrite it to explain what happened. Last night I went to a bar near my apartment to meet up with some friends. The three of us were drinking and having a good time when Andrea walked up. I never saw her enter the bar. I only noticed her when she was in front of us. She greeted me and said it was good to see me and leaned in to try and kiss me. I pushed her away from me and she fell, but one of my friends caught her. She started yelling and asking what the fuck is wrong with me. I told her to stay away from me and not come any closer. She asked if I was embarrassed of her and didn't want my friends to see her. I said this is the third time you've tried to assault me and I want you to stay away from me. At that point the bouncer showed up to ask what was going on. Andrea said I pushed her. I tried to explain that she tried to kiss me and is stalking me, but I was drunk and not doing a great job. My friends also tried to explain that I was innocent, but they were also drunk. Security kicked me out of the bar. My friends walked me home. I'm definitely going to try and get a restraining order. This has gone way too far. So it was roughly 6.5 months later that OP came in with a latest update and says I doubt anyone remembers this. And you can check my profile for context if you want. But I saw this subreddit while I was scrolling and remembered the password for my throwaway account. So if there is anyone out there that has been wondering about Andrea the gym nut, here's the answer. I did get a restraining order against Andrea as many suggested. It wasn't super effective. If I saw her and called the police, she would usually be gone by the time they arrived. A couple of officers gave me a hard time about calling. They thought I was wasting their time because I'm a man and she's a woman. The stress started to impact my job performance. My boss was sympathetic, but my co-workers started to get annoyed with me. Also, the fact that Andrea had shown up at work was a huge liability for us. I saw the writing on the wall and knew I was going to be fired soon. I did what I had been putting off for a long time. I moved back home and decided to go back to school. It was hard at first. The situation with Andrea was more traumatic than I had been able to acknowledge to myself. I tried therapy, and the first therapist thought my issue was that I was too closed off, didn't want to give what sounded like a nice young woman a chance. So that sucked. What the fuck? I swore off therapy after that. But eventually, my friends convinced me to try and give it another try, and I found a great therapist who has helped me a lot. My family wasn't particularly supportive at first, but they eventually came around somewhat. My friends have been great this whole time, and they're the only reason I didn't have a meltdown. I also got back together with my high school girlfriend. I know, ironic. That situation isn't all sunshine and roses either right now, but we're working on it. I'll be starting school again at the beginning of the spring semester. All in all, I'm okay. I'm not great, but I'm okay. Who cares about that, right? You guys want to know about Andrea. What happened to Andrea? I've stayed as far away from her as possible, but my more tech-savvy friend has been keeping tabs on her online presence in case she posts anything that might mean she's found out where I moved or had plans to do something to me. He usually doesn't update me unless it's something safety critical. About 3 weeks ago, he told me I might feel safer knowing that Andrea is engaged, so she probably won't be stalking me in the future. I'm amazed by this turn of events. There really is someone for everyone, even crazy stalkers. So that's the update. No prison for Andrea, only matrimony. Which is its own kind of prison, in a way. Just kidding. That's all, folks. Holy moly, I'm glad to hear that OP's doing slightly better now. It sounds like they're still going through some stuff, but glad they're out of that particular situation. The fact that Andrea is now engaged is terrifying for whoever that person is. Someone who can't handle rejection, escalates to violence, racial slurs, stalks people across multiple locations. You know, that person doesn't suddenly become a healthy partner because they found someone who's going to say yes. That's terrifying. But there were some really infuriating parts during this, you know, systems failing OP, the cops dismissing OP, the first therapist essentially blaming him for not giving his stalker a chance, co-workers seemingly getting annoyed with him instead of recognizing that he's the victim in this. He literally had to change his whole life, his job, his home, his city, because he's been failed. But a couple of the top comments on this one to wrap it up. LLC says, I totally remember this post. Wow. I find myself actually feeling bad for the idiot who's engaged to such a psycho. I'm really glad, however, that you're doing so well. It's sad to see that you were forced into that situation, but it seems like it worked out as well as it could possibly be expected and even better. Congratulations, and I hope everything continues to go well for you. Amazing Cabinet says, your therapist thought you didn't give a nice young woman a chance. What? Does a therapist think that nice young women need restraining orders against them? I really hope that you reported her to a professional organization. And there was many commenters talking about the therapist in this situation, but what do you guys make of this? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story, it comes from May Have Crossed a Line from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, Am I the Arsehole? For telling my husband he's made me reconsider leaving him alone with the kids in the future. Hi. I wanted to get an opinion of whether I was in the wrong here. It was my niece's wedding this weekend. She's my oldest niece, the first amongst her cousins to get married, and I'm very close to her. There were also some events happening last weekend. So I had taken the last week off from work and flew to hers the weekend before. My husband and the kids, 12-year-old daughter, 10-year-old son, were supposed to fly in at Friday for the main event. Before I left, I had prepared enough food for them to last a while. The stuff they were planning on eating first had put in the fridge, and other dishes in the freezer. All they had to do was let it thaw, put it in the pan or the pot, add some water and heat it. I had even marinated some chicken separately for them to cook in the oven. For their school lunch, I had told my husband what had to be made for them, that it would take the 20 minutes in the morning, so to factor that in. He said he understood. Now, this is my fault too, but for the first 2 days, I made sure to ask during my conversations with them if the food situation was fine, but hadn't brought it up later. Plus, all the events we were having distracted me too. When they flew in, I'd asked all gone well, if the food had run out. He said no, there was more than enough, which made me feel better. But when we got home yesterday, there was way more food left than I thought. I brought it up and found out that even thawing and heating the food was too much to do after the initial refrigerated dishes, and they defaulted to eating out, and he had been giving them lunch money instead of homemade lunch. I was so annoyed. I told him I was disappointed in him, but I'd have to now think twice before leaving him alone with the kids again. He got heated too, said I wasn't giving him his due credit for taking care of the kids. They were happy with what he was doing and that should be it. That the kids were safe and sound and there had been no emergencies. And it was messed up for me to say I didn't trust him with the kids. We'd been curt with each other in the morning today. Am I the arsehole? Edit, just want to add, we had discussed what I should leave for them before I started cooking. I asked the kids what they want and had discussed it with him. He'd asked me to make his favorite meal, which was the one they ate first. Also, yes, I do work. I'm a dentist and have my own practice. Editing again. A lot of people are saying there was no need for me to have done the prep. I hear that. I'm not saying it's the best way, just the structure we have. It's just what the kids are used to. So I didn't want that disrupted. Normally I pick the kids up on my way back from the clinic and make them lunch. Thrice a week I go to a dental center in the evenings too, so before I leave I normally have dinner set up and snacks made for them for the evening. So when I'm back they're normally full, and so I can finish making dinner. So they're used to homemade food. And yes, I started teaching the kids how to cook too. They're busy with studying their extracurriculars and friends, so I just avoid pushing this onto them, but gradual responsibility is a good idea. And reading the comments, I recognize I probably did cross a line. I'll apologize to him. So a commenter said to OP he got exactly what he wanted. He pretended he was too incompetent to even thaw and heat up food that was already prepared. His reward is now that you'll never ask him to take care of his own children again. This can't possibly be the only time he's acted utterly helpless in order to get you to do anything and everything he doesn't want to do. You don't have a husband, you have a third child, not the arsehole. Commenter says, I guess I'm a different kind of wife because I'm leaving next week to go out of town. I told my husband to figure it out while I'm gone, lol. He knows where the grocery store is, in my opinion, is a competent adult and knows how to take care of our kids too. OP responded saying, he doesn't normally do much of the cooking, so it probably wouldn't have been right if I just told him to figure it out. I wanted the kids, and him, to have homemade food while I was away. That's why I went through the effort of preparing it. Otherwise I would have expected that they'd be eating out all week. But I cooked specifically so they'd have homemade food. A meal out here and there is fine, but consistently over a week while there was a freezer full of food I'd made is why I got angry. I read most of the comments though, and maybe I'm the one who needs to stop planning ahead like this and let him handle it. Or at least I'm going to start making sure my daughter and son can do it in my absence if they want, without depending on my husband. Another commenter says, girl, you absolutely need to acknowledge your part in this though and figure out why you put so much energy into proving your way is the best or only acceptable way to be. You can't make your value to your household be based on how incompetent they are without you, or you're going to have a family who's going to feel the opposite of supported by you. They're going to be resentful, anxious, suffocated, judged and insecure because you're doing things like demonstrating before you even left that your husband/their father and them are incompetent and wrong and lazy and undependable. I would also be irritated with him for either lying or lying by omission, allowing you to think he was just reheating your food every night. But do you think that he would have felt he would have had to debate with you about his decisions on how to care for his own kids? I don't know what your dynamic is, but he's not a teenage babysitter who used your pizza money to buy alcohol and fed your kids Cheetos for dinner. He wasn't out of line. You're still contemplating teaching your very capable of this at their ages son and daughter how to pack their own lunch because you have to make sure you underline them to their dad is unreliable and they themselves aren't capable of your guidance. Please, for the love of your kids and marriage, start trusting and respecting your husband and kids with their own basic needs. Let them do things their own way. And especially with your kids, let them make some missteps along the way, and while deciding what their own ways are. Because you don't want your daughter falling into this pattern she has with you, or that you decide you want to have with your husband, where either she is obedient to her boyfriend who tells her she doesn't get to have a say in her own meals and money because he knows better, or that she thinks caring for a boyfriend means that she has to anticipate his needs and do his mental load, and you should accept that she'll do everything in that relationship so that she earns his respect. I totally get that this is part of your self-identity as caretaker of the household and sense of pride and fulfillment for you, and that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure they appreciate it / kids will come to appreciate it when they're older. But only within reason. It can't be at the expense of you respecting them as a person or making them feel controlled or judged or incapable. That makes it stop being a gift and makes it about your ego. A well-navigated change of pace and change of routine is a mental / mood booster and a life skill to hone. Your kids were safe, happy and fed, spent quality time with their dad, and they will remember. And now not only did you get the opportunity to experience a great week where you weren't in charge of the same daily routine, things you normally would have been, but you also have freezer meals left to heat up that you can have a few days where you get to be lazy and do an easy dinner as a little gift from the effort of past you. This should have been a win-win-win situation for you. Opie responded saying, I hear that. I'm not saying it's the best way. It's just the structure we have. It's just what the kids are used to. So I didn't want that disrupted. Normally I pick up the kids on the way back from the clinic and make them lunch. Thrice a week I go to a dental center in the evenings too, so before I leave I normally have dinner set up and snacks made for them for the evening. So when I'm back they're normally full, and so I can finish making dinner. So they're used to homemade food. And yes, I should start teaching the kids how to cook too. They're busy with studying and their extracurriculars and friends, so I just avoid pushing this onto them, but gradual responsibility is a good idea. And reading the comments I recognize I probably did cross a line. I'll apologize to him. Commenter says, Light, you're the arsehole. I get it. It's a waste of money. It is also a real waste of time and effort you spent preparing things. I also don't like those fun takeaways when you are not there to enjoy them too. So I do think you're totally valid in being upset. That said, I don't trust you with the kids is such an extreme statement to tell your partner when the kids were happy, safe, clothed and fed. Like if you kept the topic to him wasting money or not appreciating all your effort or even letting the kids eat junk food for a week, I'd be on your side. But what you said cuts deeper than that, if that makes sense. And there was a lot of comments on this one from everyone sucks here, you're the arseholes, not the arseholes. It was honestly all over the place. Lots of people saying that OP is a perfectionist and, should just allow him to do whatever he's doing. Lots of people saying a week's worth of takeaway, come on now. Many people commented on the husband just not being able to cook at all and saying, what's that all about? Sounds like the relationship is unbalanced in many ways. It was honestly all over the shop, but OP did come in with an update and says, it was my first time asking for opinions on Reddit and I'm fairly glad I did. The feedback was helpful. While my husband really should have told me beforehand if he didn't plan on heating the food I had prepared. I crossed the line in what I said. It made it sound like I didn't trust him with the kids, which is not how I feel. But that is what it sounded like. I apologized to him for what I said. We'd moved past it, but I still thought it was best to get this out of the way. And he was cool about it, said he understood why I reacted that way. So that's that. I've read a lot of comments saying that I need to learn to let go a bit. And maybe they are right. I've let it go for so long because I guess in my eyes they're still my babies. And I didn't want anything to take away from their studies and friends and their fun. But I've realized I'm not doing them any favors by not slowly delegating responsibility. So I've had them help me in cooking dinner now. And I want to get them to a point where they can at least prepare something for themselves or reheat something if I'm stuck at work. And they seem to enjoy it too. Thank you. And there was a couple more comments after this one said, so now your kids also do some tasks, but your husband keeps doing nothing. You really missed some serious advice on the weaponizing competence strategy from your husband on the last post. Opie says at this point, asking him to start learning how to cook and clean is more trouble than it's worth. Commenter says no, he's an adult and can learn. You just don't want to. Opie says if I ask him to, he will, that's not the problem. It'll be slower, messier, and I know the exact issue people had pointed out in me last time. But if I'm being very honest, I have the patience to guide my kids through it. But at this point, it's too much to wait for my husband to catch up. I'd much rather it be done quick and well by myself. Commenter says, gently, I need you to really think about this and why he finds this harder than your kids do. Or is it not actually that hard, but he just complains? Opie says, I wasn't expecting this response here. I'm going to think about it. While it was pointed out last time and I pushed back, I do know I have a tendency to want things right. But I guess it has to be a balance. Thank you. Commenter replies saying, so now you have your kids picking up your adult-ass husband's slack. Wow, he really has made it, doesn't he? And then the conversation turned to, do you really want this for the rest of your life, etc. OP basically said that she's turning 40 this year, so, it's almost too late kind of thing. And people were responding, well, it's never too late. And OP came in with one last comment saying, I'm really sorry to hear about your mother. She left way too soon and sounds like she's a great woman. I was mostly talking in jest, but look, if I'm being brutally honest, at 1 a.m, I like my life. I love my kids. Nothing and no one gives me more happiness than being there for them. Being able to nurture them and spoil them and see them grow. I love my career too and where I'm going with it. And I do love my husband. There are just some areas where we're not compatible. And there are times when those incompatibilities become front and center. I'm not perfect either, trust me. It's why I posted here. I know my tendencies. I knew it's possible that I was in the wrong, and that's why I asked here. The amount of slack I'm able to give my kids is not normal for me. I can't do that with my husband, and I don't make a secret of my annoyance. If the kids leave their plates on the table after a meal or snack, I don't give it a second thought, which I've now been told is doing them a disservice. But when my husband does it, I will give him a word while picking it up. Then he'll say he was going to do it later, and he'd do it himself if I was going to get mad over this, blah blah blah. But my point is, if you ask him his point of view, you might get a totally different picture of our marriage, but I'm the one who's obsessive about the little things. And again, after this one, the comments were all over the place. Some people questioning why OP got such a blasting in the comments, saying they wouldn't be happy if their kids were fed takeout for a whole week. Other people saying, the kids are alive, they're happy. I'm assuming they're healthy. What's the issue here? For me, when I read the initial comment about, not leaving you with the kids, if that was said to me, I'd be upset. But at the same time, the people talking about weaponized incompetence with the not cooking, etc., him not being able to cook, it was certainly some red flags for me in there. And I was kind of thinking, in a week, 1 or 2 takeaways, possibly, but a whole week's worth? And that's assuming it's stuff like pizzas and stuff like that. We're not talking they're ordering salads every day. It was just a bit like oof to me. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.